corporate social responsibility. Now this notion has been scoffed at for years. But today, one person in our company says that it is possible to be profitable and yet at the same time be accountable to our communities. And this is what our team is collectively going to prove today. We're going to show you how exactly we're going to position ourselves to balance between profitability and being accountable to our various stakeholders. Now firstly, we see that there is a need to establish a framework that allows for the integration of CSR efforts worldwide. Secondly, we are looking at tying in our competitive advantage with our CSR efforts. Thirdly, I will bring you through the strategy as well, which is CSR. Firstly, that for C for coordination, S for strategic integration, and R for responsibility.
Coordination of CSR initiatives on a global basis. Why do we need this? Because our current quest and target system is it allows us to input data very easily. However, it doesn't give us proper benchmarks for what is CSR. How many hours have you put in order to generate that kind of sustainability and social effects that we do not know? And number two, currently we only have country liaisons, and these country liaisons are actually only for the environment. They're the green liaisons as we know of it. So what we want to do is to improve the spectrum of services that our green liaison can do, and we would like to introduce a CSR liaison.
It's very important that we strike a balance between profitability and sustainability, and we want to find CSR initiatives that leverages on our core competencies so that we can make them sustainable. In the process of developing these new initiatives, we might actually be able to enhance our existing core competencies, and which further reinforces the sustainability of our business.
On the C strategy, we're looking at changing the organizational structure, revamping the current IT systems in order to fit in the matrix that needs to judge the CSR efforts, as well as providing training programs for the personnel, the regional managers involved, so that they know what is CSR and what's our company's objective. For our strategic intentions, this is the highest spending segment. We'll create a fund which will be based on various business division contributions as well as other various factors that will be contributed towards the CSR efforts in the various business divisions themselves. Last but not least, in responsibility, we're looking at creating an employee incentive pool in order to provide the proper incentives to the regional managers and to the liaison officers in order to motivate them to pursue the CSR strategies effectively.
We're not a road building company, you know. How do you see Crown getting involved in infrastructural development? And, you know, that must almost like a government activity, then it's more than a company activity.
We are essentially acting as an intermediary between the governments that needs infrastructural development and our partners who are our existing clients who are in the power or construction or energy development business. Now they have a business interest to develop in these areas if the future returns is sustainable, is attractive enough for a set of business there. And one of the major impeding factors for them to go into these areas is the high cost, which is typically associated with the lack of transportation or the terrible infrastructure in that region. So before they can move in, they need to develop infrastructure. And so instead of them going in purely on a good conscience and a good relationship with the government, we propose to offer them a cost saving that is shared between two parties. So they actually have something to gain.
And you're talking about Africa, one of the areas. What about other countries? Do we need to do CSR?
Yes, absolutely. We're actually looking towards CSR in other areas, like Tobias mentioned. This cherry wine is actually from Vietnam, so we're looking at Asia Pacific. And of course, as we're the privileged bunch, we don't deny that, and we wouldn't know as much about CSR as the people living in those countries. With the base of 55 countries that Crown is already in, we're going to tap on our employees' effective suggestions and their initiatives, and we're going to look into them. We're going to see how we can develop them, and this will also help to empower our employees. So we're not just saying about Africa, we're also looking at many other opportunities to conduct our CSR, but we want to take those ideas from the people living in those countries, and we have a good base there. We have 55 countries.
How do you aim to get maximum profit out of these initiatives?
Firstly, in terms of profitability, what we are seeing is that we act as the intermediaries for this disfranchised people that we are talking about. So what we are doing is that we are covering our cost We are building networks into these developing countries, which is so valuable, given that a lot of people have tried entering these countries and have failed.
I might just add a little point on that. The very infrastructure development will increase the efficiency of road transportation, and since we're a transportation business, by having these infrastructure developed, they will ensure, firstly, that in the future our variable costs in terms of fuel, in terms of repair costs of the vehicles will significantly decrease.
So our topic today is riding the right wave. What is the right wave? As we believe, that is CSR as a business strategy. So our main issue today is agenda today is first to identify the main issues with problem identification, provided with internal and external factors. And then we will list the options with decision-making criteria. After choosing one or two of most appropriate options, we will develop into very detailed implementation plan, provided with financial projection, contingency plan, and a summary.
Let's look at one of the key issues to address first, that is how to finance for our program. Actually, a lot of investment banks have come to our company just because we have been doing pretty well in the past years, and we might consider about the IPO, but Mr. Thompson actually maybe worry about the leadership freedom that might be influenced if we go into an IPO, and actually the pressure from the maximizing of the short-term benefit and our CSR philosophy. So the other option is not going to an IPO at this moment of the time, and instead we could use some debt for our expansion.
Stakeholder engagement is very important, and we identify four stakeholders as a whole. One is supplier, customers, our employees, and also the community. And I'm responsible for the supplier and customer part. For the supplier, we know that the current situation of suppliers doing on CSR or fuel efficiency is not good. So our objective in this case is to build an accountable supplier management system. And there will be a flow of how to do this system. Is to begin with the analysis, set common objective and criteria, develop system, and also control and reward.
We think you might further engage your employees in a global scales. And for example, you can have some consultation dialogue to address the cultural issues. For example, because there are different needs in different geographic locations. And you might also want to simplify your reporting lines, since there are some managers that have multiple reporting responsibility. And we really suggest you to have a CSR PI person in charge in different locations. And thirdly, we think you might want to further reward your employee volunteers who participate in these CSR activities.
A business as usual while integrating CSR activities globally. What is the approach the team would recommend to do this?
Thank you for your question. As we said, there are timeline. We develop first a framework of a CSR, and then we will find a foothold in different, I would say, regions, like in Europe. We will find Europe as a foothold to test this model first. Otherwise, if we just, penetrate it globally with this CSR model, what if it doesn't work?
What would be some ways that you might incentivize staff at all levels to be part of the CSR effort in the company?
It's very simple, because if we successfully implement the model down to every employee, and we're very confident that the revenue is going to be increased in the middle and long term. And that's very beneficial to the company. And also, that means that the company can get more money, can give more money to the employee.
These initiatives will need to be implemented, I imagine, by your key managers, who also need to manage the business itself. How are you planning to incentivize these managers to implement the CSR initiatives?
You can establish a team that's in charge of CSR, because your company is now focusing a lot on the CSR efforts, so that spare those time and efforts on CSR activities that you really need a strong team that can provide this service. And maybe the company still need more CSR experts, so we suggest you can have some consulting service with the business community in Hong Kong.
Crown is operating in a very competitive environment. And if your peers do not observe CSR, and you're the only company that take care about the CSR, then probably you will be very disadvantaged in terms of pricing. And how can you tackle that?
Thank you for your questions. We think that in a short term, that maybe cannot be a really great impact on the pricing. That means we have to maintain our price in and maybe a slightly higher price. However, after having the suppliers management system, we have lower our price, and also being more customer focused, it actually increased our value.